Yeshivat Nahar Shalom, one of the famous Sephardic Kabbalistic yeshivas there is in Jerusalem currently. And the history with regards to yeshiva happens to be the Hilula here on the 23rd of Sivan of the former Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Shalom Shmueli Zechet Tzadik Libracha, I am distantly related to. And I thought we'll explore a bit with regards to the history of the yeshiva and the Talmidim and the greatness of the place in of itself. Now, it's a Kabbalistic yeshiva for the Eidut Mizrach community. I believe it was established through Rav Mordechai Shirabi, which we're going to speak about the great rabbi in a minute. Also, it's based in the Nachlaot neighborhood in Jerusalem, and currently is headed by Rabbi Benayahu Shmueli, distant relative of mine. I think it was in the year 1939 it was established. Rav Mordechai Shirabi would establish the yeshiva respectively. Who was he? He was a great rabbi that lived between the years 1912 to 1983. He was a famous Kabbalist, a Yemenite rabbi originally, and he was known as Zaken HaMekubbalim and the Rosh Eidut HaMikvanim. Let's just say in itself, very, very great rabbi of his time. He was, I believe, the grandfather, if I'm not, sorry, he was, I think, the great grandson or the grandson of the famous Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Shalom Shirabi, who was a very good rabbi. Among his rabbis included the likes of Rabbi Sinwani, Rabbi Meshumar Nisim, and he had many great students also. Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi had, including Rabbi Yitzchak Dov Rokach, Rabbi Shalom Shmueli, naturally would become the Rosh Yeshiva afterwards. Rabbi Ben Yahu also, who is current Rosh Yeshiva. Rabbi Shlomo Fisher was another one of his Talmidim. Rabbi Chaim Avi Hu Schwartz, Rabbi Mordechai Atia. And Rabbi Atia was also a great Mekubal and very much great rabbi who passed away, I believe, in the year 1978. So he was, Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi was one of the great rabbis of his time, and there's various different, let's say, memorials in place within regards to the great rabbi and his wisdom. So he was a Rosh Yeshiva for a long time. Remember, he passed away, Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi, in the year 1983, it would be. So that was very, very interesting enough, just as an interesting thing. So this was, I think he would, Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi had immigrated, I think, back in the year 1932, about 7 years prior, and was very much part of the Kabbalistic Yeshivat Bet El, and together had close connection with Rabbi Abraham Cohen, another great rabbi within regards to, let's say, helping within regards to establishing the yeshiva. Now, I think it's actually originally the Yeshivat Nahar Shalom started off in the Beit Knesset Bana, I believe, which is actually on the street called Yosef Chaim. I think it's in the Neve Shalom area in Nachlaot, respectively. Then come what year? Hey Tafshin Chavbet, it was around the year 1961. The yeshiva would move to another place, to I think the street called Agrippa Street, which is there. Naturally, it was called the Yeshivat Nahar Shalom Shel Rashash. Rashash was Rabbi Shalom Shirabi, one of the great rabbis of his time. To give his full name, Harav Shalom Mizrahi Shirabi. He lived, I believe, between the years 1720 to 1777. And we actually did a video within regards to him. He was a previous Rosh Yeshiva of the famous Yeshivat Bet El, and the Chatan of Rabbi Gedalia Hayon, who happened to have been at one stage in time the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Bet El. Now, this yeshiva itself, they would study from midnight throughout the night and the day. The prayers were conducted according to the Kavanot Ha'ari. Arizal, Rabbi Arya Luria Ashkenazi, one of the great rabbis of Tzfat, who we spoke about on various occasions before, and also would go by the Siddur liturgy of the Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Shalom Shirabi, once again. Now, it's reported over that every morning after the Shacharit prayer, the morning prayers, they would study chapters of the Rambam and Torah, the Bet Yosef, and the laws within regards to Israel itself. And this was very much within regards to approval and recommendation of Chacham Ovadia Yosef. Remember, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef was one of the chief rabbis of Israel, was the chief rabbi of Israel between the years 1973 to 1983. Arguably one of the most famous rabbis, let's just say, in Medinat Yisrael history, and possibly over the last few hundred years. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef was so great that a staggering nearly 1 million people attended his funeral. This was back in, I believe, the middle of October, back in 2013. They would devote time studying halacha in the yeshiva. In the afternoon, Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi himself would give a lesson in Kabbalah from using the book of the Etz Chaim Chaim. This would last about an hour each specific time until sunset. They would, at mincha, they would wrap themselves up, let's say, in talit and put on tefillin. There was a very much great thing. There was Arbit prayer. Rabbi Shrabi would give a lesson, I think, connected to the book of the Ben Ish Chai, and there was various different ceremonies taking place the whole time inside this place, respectively. Now, it's interesting. The synagogue, it was the life, literally, of Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi. Really, really good. And very much connected to Rabbi Shalom Raphaeli also, who was a personal shamash of Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi. And we've mentioned, I think, various occasions, Rabbi Shalom Raphaeli, respectively, on various classes also. There was great rabbis in the yeshiva, and included Rabbi Obadiah Yosef, one of the great rabbis, which we mentioned about just a minute ago. And I believe his father-in-law, Rabbi Avraham Fatal, had a connection and was among the founding body, Rabbi Avraham Fatal. Remember, we've spoken about Rabbi Avraham Fatal in a separate video, and we very much mentioned him, I believe, in the video of Chacham Obadiah Yosef. Other great rabbis were included from let's just say, the starting up, or had the integral part in Nahar Shalom. Included Rabbi Mordechai Atiyah. Another one was another famous rabbi, Rabbi Benjamin Zev Cheshin, who was one of the heads of the Shara Shamayim Kabbalistic Yeshiva, and one of the greatest influences, let's just say, in Breslov, Hasidim, Hasidut, respectively, in the last generation. Also another great rabbi, Rabbi Meir Yehuda Getz, another great rabbi. I believe he passed away in the year 1995. He was a famous Sephardi rabbi, a Kabbalist, and was one of the great rabbis of Yeshivat Bet El also. Another great rabbi was Rabbi Eliyahu Hemed, who would, I think, be a Shliach Tzibur of the Yeshiva, respectively. Also another famous rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before, Rabbi Yosef Vaknin. Very interesting enough. So he passed away, Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi, passed away in the year 1983. And it's interesting, after he passed away, Rabbi Shalom Shmueli, a relative of mine, would actually become the head of the yeshiva. And very, very much interesting. Rabbi Ben Yahu, his son, would also have, like at that stage in time, a strong integral part of the yeshiva. They established various different institutions. They would have groups of Abrechim, for example, that would study Kabbalah. There was a charity fund over there, and the guest house that was instituted. There was a publishing house, various different books that were printed. I think actually currently the Yeshivat Nahar Shalom actually has a book house downstairs where many people buy books, printed books. Respectively, there's Sidurim, a series of Sidurim that was printed. Also, there was tens of thousands of copies of the Zohar. Very interesting enough. Now, I think the Hilula of Rabbi Shalom Shmueli happens to be on the 23rd of Sivan. He just passed away quite recently. We're going to speak about him in a minute. Actually, we'll maybe speak about him now. A few words, Rabbi Shalom Shmueli, as I said before. He is a distant relative of mine. He passed away on the 29th of June in the year 2024, just a year ago, on Chaf Gimel Sivan. He was a Talmid originally of Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi and was a Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Nahar Shalom, very great rabbi. Among his generation, obviously we said before, was Harav Yisachar Dov Rokach, very, very great rabbi. His wife was Rabbanit Shulamit Rachel, and his father happened to be Rav Shmuel Shmueli, respectively. His mother was Rabbanit Rachel, later on become Shmueli. And obviously among his children, Rabbi Benyahu Shmueli, he was, it's reported over Rabbi Shalom Shmueli, was 106 years of age at the time he passed away. Now, he was buried in the Sanhedrin plot in Jerusalem, obviously on the 23rd of Sivan of that year. We actually did a video with in regards to Rav Shalom Shmueli not so long ago. He was very much had a huge daily routine within regards to tefillot, Talmud studying, Kavanot, respectively. He would give lessons in the Zohar and various other teachings he would teach, especially at that point in time, including the book of the Etz Chaim, which was written by the Talmid of the Arizal, Rabbi Chaim Vital, another great rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before. And I recommend everyone to look into the video that we did of Rabbi Shalom Shmueli not so long ago. So that's very interesting. So it's the yeshiva students are young. Obviously, males. There's younger. I think there's younger students. There's Avrechim that learn there. There's Balabatim that learn there. There are small chaborot also over there. The tefillot is done with the kavanot arizal. They have many different, let's say, hilulot, like say feasts. At the time when there's a hilula of a great rabbi, especially when the Ariya Kadosh, his hilula, the Rosh Hashanah Kadosh, Rabbi Shalom Shirabi, and when Rabbi Mordechai Shirabi, it's his hilula, I believe, towards the end of the month of Cheshvan, they would do also a hilula, a special sudat mitzvah, let's just say, and various other institutions connected to this yeshiva was opened in Bat Yam under, once again, the presidency of Rabbi Benyahu, respectively, at a later stage in time. There was, I think, over the years, large crowdfunding campaigns were made in order to purchase various different compounds near the yeshiva building itself, and many millions were raised during that point in time. They've got a website out there which I recommend everyone to look into. Also, he was one of the great rabbis of his time. Now let's speak a bit with regards to the current Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Benyahu Shmueli. He's also a very great rabbi and a distant relative of mine. Once again, I'm very proud to say, I believe he was born in the year 1960, so he's about 65 years of age at this point in time. He was raised naturally in Jerusalem, Rabbi Shalom Shmueli. I believe when he was only 11 years of age, he would start learning in Yeshivat, Taurat, Yosef. He would study under the great rabbis, including Rabbi Yehuda Tzadka and Rabbi Ben Zion Abba Shaul. He would study with another great Kabbalist, I think, part of the day, Rabbi Yosef Voltoch, another great rabbi. He would travel every week, it's reported over, when he was younger, to see Rabbi Meir Abu Chatzera, who was based in Ashdod. I think after he got married, he studied actually in the Kollel of Yeshivat Porat Yosef. It was actually after the passing of Rabbi Mordechai Shrabi, his father, Rabbi Shalom Shmueli, would told him to encourage him to open a kollel for young men at the Nahar Shalom Yeshiva. So automatically, he was only in his early 20s still when he did it. I think his father would serve as a president of that specific yeshiva, that place. And now currently, Rabbi Benyahu would actually is the current Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Nahar Shalom. He would study, for example, on Shabbat evenings, most famously with the famous Rabbi Yitzchak Kaduri also. He's given lectures all throughout many places. He gives on there's a radio station called the Radio Kol Barama, which he actually does. He also heads the yeshiva in Bat Yam, which we spoke about itself just before. He's got, among his sons include Rav David, who is the Rosh Yeshiva of the yeshiva in Bat Yam, connected to it. Rav Yosef is a Rosh, his son is the Rosh Kollel of Yeshivat Nahar Shalom. Rav Shel Shalom is another great rabbi, and Rabbi Shimon, very much interesting enough. He also wrote, I believe, a book also connected to the Yeshivat Nahar, which is within regards to Kavanot and expoundations of the Kabbalistic book. So he's Rabbi Benyahu Shmueli, currently is Rosh Yeshiva over there, very great rabbi. I recommend everyone to learn much more within regards to Yeshiva and visit there also. It's a really great, let's just say, yeshiva in of itself. It's a famous one, or definitely one of the famous ones since the start of the Medinat Yisrael, since it came about, and much more can be said within regards to it. I would recommend everyone to actually. We actually visited the yeshiva at one stage in time. It's based in Nachal Ot in Jerusalem. And watching the videos, we were privileged enough to even go to the office of theirs and to have a few words of chizuk and inspiration from great rabbis that are actually educating there, which we actually went to last year, if you recollect. So, friends, I'm wishing you all well. Friends, we're a community here. We're learning not just about the great rabbis of yesteryear. We're doing a new project where we're looking at the great yeshivot, which are currently in Israel and that were in Israel in different days. So I recommend everyone to watch that. Wishing you all a fantastic